Hi and welcome to this video for you who grew up with a narcissistic mother. And on my channel I talk about the effects of this and what it was like and how to heal. And my name is Åse. I'm a survivor and I'm also a registered counselor, and I've been helping clients for a long time who have had a narcissistic mother. And in this video, I think I want to talk about there are some frustrations that I have, and it's to do with other people who still don't get what narcissism and having a narcissistic mother is truly like. There are so many people who don't get it, yet they think they get it. But unless they've actually stood in your shoes and unless they actually have the awareness, they don't really get it. So the thing is that people tend to show empathy to other people. Not everybody does. I mean, we're all across the spectrum of people with not so much empathy to people who are really high on empathy and people in the middle. And narcissists are very unempathic, so they are right on the end of that scale. But having endured so much pain, having had so much abuse, it can take you in different directions. It can take you in a direction where your natural empathy is destroyed, where you do become cold-hearted, and in a way that is what happened to your narcissistic mother. She was damaged very early on in her life and has built up a structure which is a defense against all this pain and shame, and this is why she's narcissistic. But for the rest of us, many of us end up developing a whole lot of empathy, but we're trained to have that empathy for the other person and not for ourselves. And that is very unhelpful to us. It's not possible to live a good life if you can't be empathic with yourself. And my frustration is that people, it's when you are an empath, it's normal to feel for other people. It's normal to consider other people. It's normal to think about how am I affecting them. It's normal to think about what is the effect of me on them. How can they must be suffering. How can I help? And so on. So it's very easy to do this to your narcissistic mother as well, which is what most of us, until we wake up, do. So we've had years, like most of our lives maybe, of giving her the benefit of the doubt, of twisting things around in our own heads, thinking that we are to blame. We've done that since we were children to defend ourselves against this reality, and that kind of defense mechanism of blaming ourselves is what I see when people come into therapy, that they're still doing it when they are in their 30s, 40s, 50s and 60s. So it's very, very ingrained. It's very, very strong defense because there's a lot of pain. And but once one begins to place the pieces right, and once one begins to see that there is a narcissistic mother here, and it wasn't all my fault. In fact, she had a lot to do with this. In fact, she was an adult and I was a child, and I believed in her, I trusted her, and she harmed me, she hurt me. So when you start to wake up to this realization and seeing her for who she is, then the empathy can slot into where it should go. It should go to yourself and not always to other people, blaming yourself. And not to her and then blaming yourself and agreeing with her because she agrees with this. She thinks you're the problem. But my frustration is that when you wake up yourself from this nightmare, then you're going to have to deal forever, actually, almost, for many of us. You're going to have to deal with the rest of your life with everybody else's blindness to it. Everybody else will still be empathic to her and making excuses without even paying attention to the fact that they are. So, and then if you then try to point this out, or if you try to speak about your experience, or then you are seen as the bad one, she becomes the victim. And so there are so many people who have so many opinions around having a narcissistic mother. There are so many people going around saying that people go no contact and they do it so easily and without thinking about it. But I've never met anybody who has done this without an ocean of pain, without actually not having another way, without sacrificing one's life or one's health or relationships or future or children. Or, it's all about sacrifice to be in a relationship with a narcissist. So my frustration is that people give advice, people talk so fast and they don't even know what they're talking about. And the fact that once you've woken up, you still face all this ignorance and all this not knowing and lack of awareness in other people. And that is really difficult. What I also see is that as a therapist, I see self-blame, I see self-invalidation, I see people who feel like there's something wrong with them. Because it has all been turned, the responsibility has all been turned on its head. You weren't responsible, yet you took on responsibility and you took on badness upon yourself. And so then in therapy, then you get very, very so-called good clients, people who are really empathic, people who are easy to deal with, people who are more than willing to admit their mistakes, people who, when they haven't even made a mistake, people who really push and do the hard work in relationships, and people who, I read a comment in a group about narcissistic mothers, someone who said that they had been with their therapist and they talked for the first time about their trauma of having a narcissistic mother, and they felt after that first session that they had been trauma dumping on their therapist. And that's how bad it gets, because come on, you are in therapy and you're in therapy to get help, and you're in therapy and your insurance is paying for this therapy, and you're with somebody who's trained to be there for you, someone who is there to help you, and still you take responsibility instead of for your own healing and yourself. You take responsibility for how does my therapist on the other side feel about this? Did I jump on them? And so on. And as if that's a negative thing to do. It's not. It's healthy. It's what you're there for. It will help you to end. I don't think that it's right to say that there is one solution for everyone, and people are so different, our lives are different, and our experiences are different, and so on. But in general, so I'm not going to say it's for everybody, but in general, it is usually helpful to go to the traumas, to face them head on, to talk about them, to process them until it loses its really stronghold over you, and until it becomes then something that painful that you went through, but it's now in the past. So so these were my frustrations, and that's what I wanted to share with you today. Perhaps you have other frustrations. I'd love to know. Please share them in the comments, and I hope that this has been helpful, and I hope to see you again, and take care. And if you actually recognize that part about self-invalidation, you can grab my quiz, which is free and which will help you see if you have a pattern of having internalized your mother and now invalidating yourself like you have been your whole life and being invisible to it, which can really mess your relationships up if you're not aware of it. So grab my free quiz if you want. The link is in the description. And I hope to see you again. Hope this was helpful, and all the best to you. Bye-bye.